Record.
Welcome back to the podcast with Ali and Chris. I'm Ali Covington, creator of Bod by Ali, and this is.
I'm Chris, CTO and co-founder of Bod by Ali Covington.
So, how was your week, Chris?
It was an interesting week. It was.
Yeah, it was.
There's lots of interesting news on the Bod front, lots of interesting news on the Chris front. Escaped from Mexico. That story's to come. That's an interesting story. We'll get to that one.
An interesting story. I've gotten a few little tidbits here and there from it, and I just about peed my pants laughing at some of it. What else you haven't told me yet?
So yeah, there's going to be lots of stories about other things and pants and whatnot. Yes.
Speaking of pants, I just got 2 different text messages from 2 different clients today saying their pants fit looser. They have to buy new pants or new workout pants. And I thought, good.
What a problem to have.
I know. I said, you're shrinking. And they're like, yay, this is what's happening. I'm like, yeah, but you're shrinking in a good way. So
right. Yeah, that's always a good problem to have. It's like my pants don't fit me anymore because they're too baggy. They're too big. It's like, you've lost enough inches that you need to go clothes shopping again. It feels good. That's the one time it feels good to go clothes shopping. It sucks when it's like you put on size and suddenly you're like, damn, I got to buy bigger pants. This is demoralizing. But when you get to go like, I fit into some 38s now when I used to buy 44s. It's like, this is nice.
Exciting. Yeah.
Yeah. Makes you look forward to the future.
It does. And that's a really important thing.
Momentum, trajectory, it's all part of that. Yeah. So this is really cool.
Yeah. Building muscle, burning fat at the same time. I don't know why actually I do know why people think that you can't do both at the same time. The problem is that there's different body types and they're not taking into account that fact. And they think that, well, you have to be in a caloric surplus in order, you have to consume more calories by eating them to be able to build muscle. But they're completely missing the fact that most people already have those calories stored on their body in the form of body fat. And
so have excess calories.
They can be in a caloric deficit in terms of what they're eating and still have the surplus necessary to build fat. And guess what? Then you're burning fat at the same time to build muscle and burn fat. Ta-da! But if you're already really, really lean, you're down close to your essential fat, or you're an ectomorphic body type that just can't keep calories on you no matter what. Like if you miss a meal, you're losing weight, like my little guy. Yeah, if he gets like a few hundred calories less that day because he just wasn't that hungry or his nose was stuffy or something, his weight doesn't go up. Like it's obvious. He needs all the calories he can get. So I plump him up differently. And there are some people that are like that. My brother's like that too, right? He's in order for him to gain weight, he's got to eat really dirty. Sloppy types of pizza and double cheeseburgers and shit like that. Otherwise, he can't gain weight to save his life. But almost nobody else is like that. All the mesomorphs, the endomorphs, they've all got an extra amount of fat on their body because it's easy for their body to store that. Right. So they can very easily build muscle and lose fat at the same time.
Right. And it's, those people who are in that damn near bodybuilder category, it's like, of course, you're down to under your guy who's sitting at 6% body fat. It's like, sure, your body has nothing to scavenge. And if it goes looking for calories, it's going to start going for whatever is available. And that's going to be some muscle.
That's right.
It's like the body goes for that last, but it will if it absolutely needs to. I mean, you just look at people who are stuck starving for weeks or months. It's like, you start atrophying because, it's not just not using the muscle. It's if you don't get the calories, your body's going to get it from somewhere. It needs energy.
That's right. To live.
But like from where I was, like back in April, I mean, I was close to 30% body fat at that point still. And I dropped down to like 22% over the course of 6 weeks and put on a few pounds of muscle at the same time. It was like I was in enough of a caloric deficit to drop well over like 10 to almost 15 pounds. And it was like 13 pounds of body fat lost because I kept looking at the scale and being like, why am I not losing weight? Why do I look like I spent all this time and felt like I did really good? And it's like, I think I only lost 4 pounds. And I'm like, what? Why is this so hard? Then I go look at the difference between, the lean body mass, and that had gone up by like 7 or 8 pounds. Now, whether how accurate that is, I don't know. But at the same time, it's like, obviously it went up. Maybe it went up 4, maybe it went up 7. I don't know. But it went up and body fat went down, and they were offsetting each other to some extent. Now, and people will look at like lean muscle mass growth like that and think, well, you can't do that anyway. It's like, I'm also in this category of a lot of newbie gains, right? Like I had a lot of my arms, my shoulders, my chest. None of these are really strong. I don't bench press 225. I bench press like 125. And for a guy, that's not a lot. So my chest is not that strong. So as I build my chest up, it's like I'm going to put on a lot of muscle fairly quickly because there's not a lot there at the moment. So you do get kind of some ridiculous muscle gains when you don't have a lot. And I'm not that.
There's no place to go but up.
But yeah, and I'm not that ectomorph. Like I've never had a problem putting on muscle. Never a problem for me. Right. It's like I remember being in the gym when I was a teenager. I was probably in there for about a year and a half, about a year and a half before I ended up moving. And I remember getting stretch marks on my fucking arms because I fucking like blew up so quickly. Now we were being silly and taking creatine and doing all that stuff, which that's just, I'm sure there's some triggering for you. the creatine craze. But yeah, we went ham on that, and it was just like you swole the hell up. And it was just like I went from having like almost like just flabby-ish kind of scrawny arms to like I could flex and I had biceps. And people were like, holy shit. But I went every freaking day to the gym. I went 6, almost 7 days a week. I went every day after school for like an hour and a half. And I was doing like your very typical, like do 3 sets of 10 of these 4 different exercises, do your sets. It was just straight out of Muscle and Fitness magazine back in the 2000s or late 90s. And did all of that, took the creatine, took some other supplements. It was just like I took a B vitamin and something else. I think it was something else that was recommended. And yeah, and it was kind of like swole right up. But I mean, I'm 17, 16, 17, full of HGH, full of testosterone. It's just like teenage fucking steroids are just through the roof, and growth hormone going off the chart.
Creatine that made you swell right up.
Right. Because that adds so much water and everything to it.
Muscular water weight. It's not strength, it's just size, which is why guys love it.
Oh, but yeah.
There's very few women that are trying to get bigger.
No, they usually don't want to. Well, that's the trope that you'll hear women say, I don't want to work out too hard because I don't want to get bulky.
I'm like, you're not going to, darling.
Right. That's what I want to say every time. It's like, good luck with that.
Yeah.
Like go look at what those real bodybuilder women, especially the ones that are natural. It's like you look at what they have to go through to get the size that they have, and they're not bulky. They might look a little like if they get low body fat, they'll look really shredded because they have good muscle definition. And when they get the body fat down, they're like, oh, you can see a lot of muscle striation, but they're not bulky.
No.
Even the ones that try real hard, unless they take steroids, which then you're just getting silly. Right. Well, it's just like, oh, then you're a man.
I don't think I'm bulky. I'm a size 4.
No, you're not bulky at all. I mean, they only like seeing you shooting some of those videos, seeing you do some exercises. It's like whenever you're under strain, doing like chest flies or something, you can see good definition in your shoulders, in your biceps, in your arms. That's having a lot of muscle there. And once it's flexed, it's right. You can see all of it. Right. But it's like, it's not bulky, it's just strength. It's just, yeah, like bulging biceps is something you only get if you're a guy or you take steroids as a woman.
So like, the idea when women are like, I don't want to get bulky, I'm like, well, the Twinkie's gonna make you bulky, not the dumbbell.
Yeah, what kind of bulky are we talking about?
Just saying. That donut is the bulky.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's the bulky around your hips that you keep complaining about because you keep not eating healthy.
Right.
And worrying about what the dumbbells are going to do to you. It's like, no. Those
No.
are going to make you not bulky. I mean, that's probably the message to try to get through to women. It's like, if you want to get all that, extra fat off of all those places you don't like, you got to lift some weights.
Yeah.
You got to get, because that's what gets your metabolism up. That's what gets your daily burn from, because, what women who are, I mean, this affects women way more than men because men just carry more body mass around. It's like, I can eat 2,500 calories and probably not gain weight, not gain body fat. Women can't do that.
Nope.
Even 1,500 calories is going to make some women gain weight.
Right.
Like there's some women that can only eat 1,200 calories. But if you put on more muscle mass, you can eat a little more. That's because that muscle burns fat just day to day, just maintaining the muscle.
Yes.
You don't even have to work out. It will burn more on its own.
Yeah.
And then you work out on top of it.
Calories too, because if it's mostly protein and clean fats, then your body is definitely going to burn right through it.
Well, right. And proteins get used for all kinds of stuff. I mean, that's full biology, needs all those proteins and amino acids. And a lot of like the fats that you're eating, stuff that you get from fish oil, for example, or your olive oils and things like that, they go into more than just energy. They go into rebuilding nerves. Like they are actual building blocks, unlike carbohydrates, which is basically just energy. Right? Carbohydrates is not used, as far as I know, for any kind of building blocks inside the body. It's just an energy source.
That's right.
And most fats, like lots of different fats, are just an energy source. But there are those like omega-3s, as they call them, that are used for brain cells, used for brain matter, used for your nerve tissue. That's why they are
membranes.
And that's why they're called essential fatty acids, not non-essential fatty acids.
That's true. And the body needs a little bit of fat in order to make the cholesterol that it needs to make
building all your
brains and
whatnot. Yeah. Right. Especially and if you are working out on a regular basis, your body's burning through old cells. It's doing the whole, what's it called, apoptosis, killing off old cells that need to die because they've been around too long, and replace them with new ones. It's like cycle of your whole body. It's like your body is meant to cycle out itself on a constant basis, and you need to replenish it with the things that it needs to do that. Therefore, why you have to eat.
I mean, that's just simple life. It's a linear equation.
It's a supply. This is something I said before, and I think it's one of the best ways of looking at it is your body is a supply and demand system, and you have to work both sides of it. You have to work the demand side of it to get rid of the excess energy, to get rid of the old tissue. It's like exercising does more than just, make things healthier. It's like it actually triggers a whole bunch of epigenetic stuff that gets rid of old cells.
Yeah,
it's something to do. I remember reading about it. It's like when your body temperatures goes up because of exercising, especially when you get to like a real sweat, there's a whole bunch of genes turn on in response to that heat, because it's also triggered to some extent by going into a sauna for 45 minutes. It's like there's very similar effects to doing 45 minutes of cardio or sitting 45 minutes in a sauna. There are some similar effects, whether they're completely, I mean, obviously your muscles are not going to get stronger and your heart's not going to get stronger in the same way, but there is a whole bunch of similar epigenetic effects that it's like this only has to do with the body temperature going up in response to all that exercise. That's why you're sweating.
Fountain of youth.
It is.
Exercise is a fountain of youth.
It's also crazy why these people who are like, you don't need cardio. Like, what, you don't need your heart to work? Is your heart not a muscle?
They're just pandering to the laziness of the people that they're trying to sell their program to.
I know.
Oh, it's irritating.
Right.
I think it's misleading at best. And I think it's dangerous at worst.
Right.
I mean, I have, several financial licenses, and I've been doing financial planning for a couple of decades. And I have had bodybuilders that were my clients that I was getting life insurance for. And even though they are very lean, they don't have excess body fat at all, they are still rated for life insurance because the heart has to work hard to pump blood through muscle, just like it has to pump blood through fat. The extra weight is still hard on the heart. So if you're not doing cardio to make it stronger, I don't know why you would want to gain muscle mass and not and make it harder on your heart to be able to do its job. Why wouldn't you do cardio at the same time?
Right. And I would look at sort of any athlete, and you're going to tell those people you just need to do strength training and you don't need to do any cardio. Those people would laugh you out of their gym.
Can't, because they've got a sport to play, which
right. Well,
always cardio. Sorry.
And if you have all that muscle, like the downside of having a lot of muscle with low cardio is that you have this explosive power for 4 seconds or 10 seconds, and then you're done.
There's no sustainability.
No, because it's even worse, because you can blow through whatever energy you did have in an even faster amount of time.
In 10 seconds. You actually have
it's and you would see it in different athletes, and used to see it in UFC fighters. They would throw bombs for 30 seconds, and if they could knock a guy out in 30 seconds, great, they'd win the fight. But if the other guy could survive and just dodge his punches for 30 seconds, the other guy was toast. You'd see his arms go down by his sides. Like he couldn't lift his own arms up anymore because they were so packed with blood.
Any good professional boxer runs, and they run a lot.
Oh yeah, and they've been doing it for decades. It's like Mike Tyson was like a cardio machine. He knew he had to, because he had so much explosive power. If he threw those punches and he didn't have the cardio, he wouldn't last one round.
Right.
He'd be so gassed out. But he would go several rounds and still throw those bombs. Like he could throw those bombs into the 7th round. That's why he was so scary. It's like, oh, you think you can dodge me for 2, 3, 4 rounds? Guess what? I still got this power in round 5. I will still knock you senseless. Just wait until you slip. I'm just waiting for that opening. So he was so scary to people. Yep. So like, yeah, and never mind, that's extreme athletes, and that's where some criticism will come in. The average person is not an athlete. It's like, you're still a human.
And why aren't you? But okay, so so you're not an athlete, right? You're not a professional athlete. Why wouldn't you still want to train, even like along the same vein, not to the same extent, not to the same intensity, not the same duration, because you don't need to? But why would you leave out such an incredibly important component to just
your heart and lungs,
the human life, that's absolutely necessary? Why would you leave that out simply because some trainer who was selling a program said you didn't have to?
Yeah, it doesn't make sense when I hear that. And you'll sometimes hear the same people saying, well, you can just strength train for 10 minutes a day. It's like, what are you doing in 10 minutes?
Right. Well, just do high intensity for 30 minutes a day, 3 days a week. I'm like, how about 30 minutes a day? I don't know how you're going to get your maximum gains just with 3 days a week at 30 minutes. But I mean, maybe if you're 65, that's good enough.
Right. I mean, I'm moving here to where I'm at in Houston. It's very, very humid here. And I'm out trying to, I'm like acclimatizing to it, but I go out and do 30 minutes in the morning. And I do like 400-meter run where I try to get down to, for me, 8-minute mile, trying to push down to 7-minute mile. I'm kind of in that range right now. It's hard, especially in this heat. But then I'll walk 100 meters and just do some intervals at that rate. And it's I'll do it for like half an hour and I'm pretty toast at that point. But you just build it up.
Yeah.
Just build it up and build it up. Work it. Right? The lungs will adapt. The heart will adapt. That's what most of that is. It's like I start getting very winded. Start pushing, and I'm trying to push faster. So it's just pushing that cardio even harder. But that's the whole point.
Little bits at a time. Little bits at a time, and your body will adapt. But not too much, or you'll hit that negative feedback loop and it'll retaliate.
Right. You kind of burn out a bit. Like I've had that where I push too much, and then like the next day you're just like, I got nothing.
Right.
You almost need like 2 days to recover if you push it too hard.
You've got to go in small increments.
Yeah. That's kind of how I try to.
We built the app the way we did.
Right. Yeah. Just progression. A little bit of progression. Just go from where you were, get a little bit more.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't try to jump around too much. And it's adaptation. It's what the human body is so good at. If
Uh-huh.
you give it time, if you give it
A little
stress,
stress. A little stress. It
little
is
stress over
too much
lots of
stress
time.
breaks it down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So why don't you tell us about Chris's adventure getting out of escaping Mexico?
Oh my goodness. This was an exercise in really practicing my own sense of inner calm along the way.
Yeah.
There were some moments along this trip where it was just like, okay, I need to not panic, not let this anxiety ramp up and just be stupid and end up making a bunch of bad choices. Because there were a couple of moments where I almost did, and glad that I didn't. So, I mean, it starts off right at the very beginning. So I'm bugging out of Mexico on Monday morning. Get up at 6, everything's kind of fine. Order some breakfast, have it just something simple ordered in, and I'm booking a bus ticket for 9 o'clock, thinking I'll get to Tijuana by 11. I got to get to the genome lab thing to get my COVID test by 1 p.m. They've got a 1 hour turnaround time. So I'm thinking if I get there somewhere between 11 and 12 is just fine.
Mm-hmm.
I get out of my apartment. I've got everything ready on the curb by about 8:15 or so, 8:20, and hop into an Uber to head to the bus station. And I I looked on Apple Maps and Google Maps just to cross reference the both of them, and they both
Oh,
gave me. I looked up ABC buses or something like that. It's an autobus, I think in Spanish is what they call it,
right.
autobus depot or something like that.
Mhm.
And they both showed me the same one. And it was like kind of in downtown Ensenada. So I hop in the Uber. He takes me there, and I'm like, cool. And I'm sitting there for about 20 minutes, and I'm like, there's all these little small buses, and they just look like local buses. These look like school buses, not your like transport buses. The ones I seen coming from Tijuana on my way down when I took a taxi down here, they were like the big long buses that look like big transport buses,
Mhm.
um, Greyhound type buses that
Full
people would know
size bus.
here.
Right.
Full size bus with comfy seats and all of that. These look like school buses that were probably created in the 1940s. And I'm starting to get a feeling like this doesn't feel right. And it's about 8:45. So I go inside and I ask the lady, is like, this is where the buses to Tijuana come. They do not speak English. She has no idea. I'm just like, to Tijuana. She's like, me
Google
no
Translate.
English. So I pull open my phone and I've got a receipt on my phone and I show it to her. And she's like, I don't know what this is, basically. And then there was some other guy, I showed him, he was there. He looked like more like a bus driver or something like that. And he looks at me and he's like, way over there. He goes pointing, like off in the distance, like I gotta fly across Ensenada or something. He's like, over, way over. I'm like, oh, I'm nowhere close to where I need to be.
Uh-oh.
I'm like, oh shit, I got 10 minutes before this bus leaves. So I go outside, I'm like, God damn it, what do I do? And this other bus pulls up, and it's a little more of a proper bus, not one of these little school buses. And I'm like, okay, maybe this guy knows something or whatever. He unloads his bus, I go up and I'm like, I show him my thing, my receipt. He kind of doesn't know what I'm talking about. I turn around but he points to another guy who's behind me. He's got like the company shirt, an ABC buses shirt, and he's like, "What's going on?" He spoke a little bit of English, and I showed him the receipt, and he's like, "Oh no, that's like 10 blocks from here." And I'm just like, "Well, I can't even get an Uber that fast. It's like I'll never get there in time. I got 8 minutes." And he's just like, "No, this guy will take you." He just points to him. He's like, blah 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 in Spanish. He's like, "Go take him over there." And he's like, "Go hop on the bus. This guy will just take you over to the proper place." This guy's on a bus route.
Wow.
And he's just like, "Oh yeah, just take me over there." So he does. So I hop in the front seat and he just like up 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 and he takes me over and he drives up and it's like all the big buses. This is like the big bus depot. I'm like, oh, this is it. But I look at my watch and it's like 9:03. And I'm starting to think, oh, well, I guess I just missed that bus. The next one leaves at 10 o'clock. I'm like, then it gets to noon and I'm starting to do the math in my head. It's like that's starting to run the needle a little thin. I could get an Uber and be there in an hour and a half or less. But that was going to cost me an extra $70 and I already paid for the bus ticket. So I start asking around, like, what do I do? What do I do with this ticket kind of thing? And somebody's like, go inside, talk to the ticket people. I mean, they weren't saying any of this in English because they didn't speak English, but they were just pointing me inside. It's all sign language at this point. So I go inside, the lady in there does not speak English. And she's basically telling me to email her the receipt that I have on my phone. And she's just like, but she's saying it all in Spanish, so I have no idea what she's saying. And then she like gives me this piece of cardboard with her email address already on it. And she's just like pointing at it, like, just do this. And I'm like, oh, you want me to email you the receipt? Okay, got it. I figured out she's giving me an email address. So I go in, I send her it, and I'm sitting there and she's not saying anything to me. 5 minutes goes by, 10 minutes goes by, she's serving other customers. I'm like, what is happening right now? I'm gonna go get this Uber. Like this anxiety is building a little bit in my head. I'm just like, okay, let's be calm, because this other bus driver took me over here. Like I just got taken here. This is all working out. I just need to chill and not panic, go for the Uber. Because that's what old me would have done, because I would have let that anxiety just build up and say, just go get the Uber and then you don't have to worry about it. But then I'd worry about the money, because this is why I was so bad with money. I would use money to solve problems, to overcome anxiety, rather than just waiting and letting it play out. So I'm like, let's just chill. I wait for a bit, maybe like 9:20, almost 9:18. She finally gives me my ticket. I'm like, okay. And she circles it, 9 o'clock, bus 4704, something like that. I'm like, okay, this bus is gone. Maybe she's just saying, cool, the 10 o'clock bus will take you to, because they probably don't care. It's like, I paid for the ticket. They don't care what bus I actually end up on. I go outside, I go out, and there's like 7 slots for buses to park in. My bus is all the way at the very end, of course. Just to ramp the anxiety a little bit more. Where's my bus? Where's my bus? There it is. And there's a little bit of a lineup to get on the bus. I'm thinking, if this is a 10 o'clock bus, wait, why is my bus here at 9:18 if it's supposed to be a 10 o'clock bus? And the guy's there, like, one guy's loading luggage and stuff. Most people don't have luggage. He's just like, you want me to put this in here? I'm like, yeah, that'd be great. And he puts the tag on it and gives me the other tag, the receipt kind of tag, and gives me that. And he throws all my luggage into the bottom of the bus. And he's like, away you go. The bus driver's there. He looks at my ticket and he's like, yep, get on. So I get on, I sit in the back of the bus, and I'm thinking, what? I'm going to sit here for the next 40 minutes? Like, what is going on? I'm just like, stop worrying about it. It's all working out.
Was the bus air conditioned?
Yes, it was. Like an airplane. I mean, this is what I mean. It was a proper, like, Greyhound type bus.
That sounds like the better place to sit for 40 minutes instead of inside the bus station anyway. Even if you did
or in an Uber, which probably would not have been air conditioned, because they don't have nice cars. This is not like Uber in America, where everybody's driving brand new Mercedes and shit. And you get an Uber in Orange County and it's almost always like it's some brand new Tesla or some new $50,000 car at minimum. No, these were all cars that you would call beaters. These were cars, like, these didn't have suspension systems anymore. Like, they had bumps and you were just like, ow, ow, my lower back is really hating life right now. And you had spinal compression problems by the time you get out of these cars. It's like, where's my chiropractor? No,
that's why they're so cheap, because you're going to need medical attention after you ride in their cars.
Right. That's why. Yeah, the Uber. I mean, it was the $60 for an hour and a half Uber. And this is in a place where gas is just as expensive as California.
Oh, really?
It's $4 a gallon.
Okay.
I mean, here in Texas, it's $2.50. So I get on the bus. I'm there for a few minutes, and I'm just like, I don't know what's happening. I don't really care. I'm just like, it's all going to work out. And I start to close my eyes and just meditate a little bit. Mm-hmm. And I think I'd messaged you a couple of times. We've kind of gone back and forth. I'm like, yeah, I'm finally on the bus. It's working out. And then the bus starts to move. And I'm just like, okay, idiot. This is Mexico. Don't set your watch to the bus schedule in Mexico. They don't have, the bus schedules are not real. It's like there's no 9 a.m. bus. It's just like the bus leaves whenever there's enough people to get on the bus and have it leave. Right? Like, The bus probably wouldn't have left until 11:30 if nobody showed up to get on it. Right? Like this is
You're
not
over
like
there tap dancing because you're like, I need to get a COVID test before I
right.
get on the plane.
Right. I'm so worried about like the buses must run on schedule and I just missed my bus and they're just like, no, this is
The
Mexico.
gringo is worried. Is
Right. He's
local.
all thinking this is America and we're Greyhound or something. So it's like, no. Yeah, you're not setting your watch to our bus schedules, or you're just gonna make sure your watch doesn't work. So we get on the bus starts moving, and I'm feeling pretty good at this point. I'm like, okay, 9:20, bus gets in a little after 11, perfect. Lots of time, still plenty of time to get over there and get my test. Start getting the bus home, and then off to Tijuana.
Cool.
Yeah.
And
Then
more to the story. Come on.
there's more to the story. Suddenly I get a phone call from somebody. How much of this you want to get into?
Oh my gosh. Oh, that's right. I called freaking out
Right.
because I listened to a voicemail from Saturday. Somebody needed some gut help.
Yeah.
And so I called them back, and it was a New Jersey phone number, so I didn't think anything of it. And they're like, got your number off the microbiome website, which, I'm affiliated with them, so that way we can help
For
our
some of our
clients
supplements.
get the, the gut restoration type of stuff that they need and the probiotics. And he goes on to ask me where I'm at. And I'm thinking, why does it matter? Because they're going to drop ship it to you anyway. I said, Orange County. He's like, oh, where? I'm starting to go, okay, why
Why?
does it matter? And I said, Aliso. And that's all I said.
Yeah.
So you could like extrapolate it out to like, which one, that kind of thing. He's like, oh, well, I'm in Laguna Woods. And I'm thinking, oh, you are way too close for comfort now. I said, well, you have a New Jersey phone number. Oh, but this is after he went into his whole story about why he needs the help, because he almost died from COVID. And because the hospital had to pump him full of whatever they pumped him full of to save his life, now he knows he needs some help. And all I can say is, okay, well, click through on our website, go over here and order it. Ship it directly. And I got off the phone. And then I get these text messages that it says they're out of stock. Like, can I come get it from you? No, I don't have any. I don't keep an inventory of that because they drop it to you. I'm not going to keep an inventory of that stuff. And
no, some of it has shelf lives.
Right. Well, no, because the probiotic is shelf stable.
The probiotic doesn't. Yeah.
None of it has a shelf life. Anyway, so now I'm starting to freak out because I'm thinking, why do you want to know where I'm at so badly?
Right. And
the story the way it was told to me had too many holes for it to be plausible. Like
it started to seem a little sketchy.
And like, either you haven't told me the whole story, which I don't think I want to know now, or you're just completely fabricating a whole bunch of stuff. And I'm not interested in hanging around to see how this story turns out. So I call you freaking out like, oh my God, what do I do? And you're like, well, does he know where you're at? I'm like, and then you look on the website and it's got my home address. That's when I really hit the ceiling. I was like, oh my God. So
I'm listening to all of this. Listening to all of this, and you're like, check out his phone number. Check out his phone number. And can you were like asking me, can you find out where he is? Can you trace his phone number and get his location? I'm like, I'm not the FBI here. Like I'm on a bus on my way to Tijuana with the shoddiest internet ever.
I was like, you're a tech guy. Tech guys have all the little like black box ways of knowing shit.
Right. Yeah. So then I do the search. I do the search on the website, and at first it doesn't come up. I punched in your area code, and at first nothing comes up. It was just some other company that was almost down by San Diego, and I'm thinking, okay, that doesn't look like many search results, but whatever. Then it returns yours at the very top, Bridebot Inc. And it's just like, then you're like literally apartment number. And I'm like, oh, Jesus. Literally, your home address is on their website, phone number, everything. I'm like, oh, my heart sank. I'm just like,
And
no.
I couldn't reach them to like make it disappear right away. It
No,
did
that took a couple
hours.
hours.
Did within hours, but I was sufficiently freaked out by then.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to go meet a financial client.
Which
Yeah,
is probably a good thing because that got you out of the house.
it did. But I was looking over my shoulder. I literally like you should have seen me coming out of my front door. I like and I'm looking around the side, I'm checking, I'm like making
Is there
sure
anybody around the corner?
nobody's around the corner waiting to grab me. Nobody's like in the corner, like over there. I was like,
Aw.
anybody seeing me? Okay. And then and then to lock my door, I like kept my back against the wall. I'm locking my door like this because
Oh,
I
dear
didn't want somebody
Lord.
to surprise me from behind. Like I
A little on edge?
was like, I'm too cute to steal. Don't take me, please. Anyway, no,
Right.
and largely not just because of that, but there's, I've got a, crazy dangerous ex, and I don't know. So
Right.
that's where
He's got
that's where
a
my heart
restraining order, but that don't stop someone from being stupid.
doesn't stop somebody from hiring somebody to be stupid. So that's
No, that's true too.
all the possibilities and variables
Ali's
were
imagination went a little,
calculating
yeah.
like at record speed in my head, and I'm like, oh, yeah, I need to get out of here. Okay, so
Right. Yeah,
yes,
and then we started to resolve things a little bit. I think once we kind of had the idea of like, was there anybody you could call that kind of knew you that also knew how to kind of handle a situation like this? And it was one friend you thought of.
yeah, ex-sheriff. So that was,
Yeah,
and then speaking with the company, finally got a hold of the company rep, and
getting that taken down.
he said he clicked a button and I vanished. But
Right.
he said, as I was ordering something else, he said, "Did you place an order today?" And I was like, "No." He's like, "In Laguna Woods?" I went, "No, but that's lining up with this weird phone call.
Right.
Well, maybe this actually was a legit client." Either way, it's not a stalker or a process server, or they wouldn't have bought
Yeah, we
anything.
right. The other possibility we went down was that this is somebody trying to serve you papers for a lawsuit. A
Yeah.
process server, somebody's trying to like sue you or something. And it's like they're getting into this elaborate scheme of going through microbiome labs to try to find you. Oh, the imagination may have went a little high,
Well, in my defense,
active. It was slightly active.
in my defense, prior
Hmm.
to 2018, that never would have entered my consciousness or my
No.
imagination. I would have blown it off like, that's weird. Anyway, moving on. But after
Right.
going through what I've been through,
Yeah.
I don't take anything for granted that is a red flag anymore. I
No.
I pay attention to those red flags. I take them seriously. I don't dismiss them anymore.
No, because just as much as that, we kind of found out there was some legitimacy to this client that it seems like they did order
They
what
said they wanted.
what they said they wanted.
They
There was
said
kind
it
of
was out of stock, by the way, which clearly maybe he was not in his right mind and he was looking at something else. I don't know.
right. There's still things that don't line up about that whole story that are just like a little weird. Like, and it was one of the things that tripped me up was when you said he already knew what he wanted to order, but then he called you anyway. He was like, which, yeah, he already knew about the probiotic or the gut rest or one of those two, and it was
Right,
like,
why would you call
wait,
me?
right? It's like if you already know, you're not asking for advice. Like, what is going on here?
I have a feeling that he called because he thought he could get it faster if I was in the area. He could just
You
stop
just come over and get it,
Yeah, he just stop by the store, the office,
because
come and get it.
right, because yeah, he would have saw the address. That was one thing I thought early too. I didn't say it because it was just there was a lot going on. Was the whole thing of like, okay, anybody who does see this address is not going to assume it's a residential address
No, that's right.
because they're going to see 29D and just think, well, that's probably sweet 29D. It's like some strip mall complex or something like
Right.
that.
Exactly.
So there was
And
that,
and most of the people that work
and
with
you're in a
are
semi like
are
little
health
gated
practitioners.
community kind of thing too.
Yeah. And the people that are on there are typically health practitioners, nurses,
Who
dietitians,
would have an
like
office?
that, who, yes.
So
Aren't
this
ready
is
to
me.
that company.
Right. So like I go through all of this to get on my bus. I'm just getting myself calm, getting into a nice place. I'm on the bus. I'm happy. Ellie calls and she's got drama going left and right. And I'm like, it was like perfect too, because I was just finding a nice calm place so that to deal with all of this anxiety that you suddenly had, I was like, let's just think calm. I was already in a nice calm space. It was just like, cool, I can handle this right now. I'm
Mention
just
that
on
my
a
timing is impeccable.
Yes, the universe has impeccable timing on all things. Perfect timing.
That's right.
So I get into Tijuana and I'm like, cool, you were off to your meeting already. And then I went to the genome lab and that all went swimmingly. They stuffed their little Q-tip up my nose. And oh my God, how annoying is that?
I don't
Like,
know about it.
oh, it was like, I felt the Q-tip go up my nose and it was like, that was completely fine at first. And then it gets to that part where it's past your nose and it's like actually touching your sinuses. My eyes just instantly started to water. It was just like, it wasn't even like crying. It was just tear ducts were just like opening up. And I'm just like, why is this? It's just so annoying. It doesn't quite hurt. It's not painful, but it kind of is.
I thought it
And
was
she's
just
like,
a little tiny hair type of thing. It was like not thick at all.
no, this was a Q-tip, like a proper Q-tip. It was just a Q-tip with like a fucking 12-inch handle on the damn thing.
When my little guy had a COVID test before his surgery, it was this little tiny hair. It was like
Right.
no bigger than a wire, and they just
Yeah.
up both sides.
Yeah, because if you had to try to shove this Q-tip up his nose, he'd probably bite your hand off.
He didn't even like the little tiny hair thing. I was like, I'm so
Probably
sorry.
not.
Yeah,
No,
I just
she
thought that's
started
how
like,
all of them were.
no,
But you're in
no.
Mexico, so
Yeah, this was a $50 test,
in
not
Mexico,
subsidized at all.
they're not like, we're going to give you a good test. They're like, oh, we're just going to swab out the inside of your nose and stuff it in the thing.
More
And
or less. And they had to
blue.
make sure they get both nostrils, apparently.
Yes, like because it could be hiding in one and not the other.
Right. It's like your sinuses are joined together. It's like they're two separate caverns or something. I don't know. Uh,
And I'm sure you're looking at that going like, you're not just going to shove that shit straight up the other nostril, are you?
oh yeah, she goes for the right one first, and it's like this. It's weird because when she did the right side, it's like only my right eye started to tear up, and it's just like streaming down my face. I'm just like trying not to. I'm like, why am I crying? And she's just like, this is normal. She's just like, it's
like,
expected.
I'm striking a nerve. That's
right.
why.
It's just like as I'm scraping the nerves on the inside of your sinuses, and then she's just like, she pulls it out.
Q-tip.
What's that?
Please tell me they used a second Q-tip.
Oh hell no. No, she pulls the Q-tip out.
Thing up the other side, please.
Yeah, I'm like sitting there with my head backwards, and she just pulls the Q-tip out and goes, womp, right up the other one. And I'm just like, oh dear Lord.
That's so unsanitary. And if I had it in one side and not the other, now I've got it in both. Thanks.
And it was even like a specially sealed Q-tip where she had to put it into a holder and like open it properly, like it was like some $30 Q-tip or something. And she's wearing half a hazmat suit.
Yes. Hilarious.
Oh yeah, like this. Well, it looked like a very. I mean, this didn't look like some dirty lab or nothing. This was a very clean spot. Like of all the places I've been in Mexico, this looked the most civilized of every place I had been in. Like every place else was just like, yeah, we might mop the floor next week. This place was clean, like super squeaky clean. And I was just like, oh, this almost looks like home. This almost looks like a normal office.
So it turned out negative, of course.
Yeah, and they got me back in and got it back in an hour, which was great. I was a little worried about that because even in the US, it's like you go to Walgreens or something. It's like, yeah, they'll get back in like 24 to 48 hours or something like that. This was 1 hour.
Wow.
And I had the results in an hour.
That's amazing.
And it was $50. That was fine.
Okay.
Got that result, and I'm just standing out there. This is when we were chatting with you, kind of waiting for that result to come in, and things are sort of, winding down. We're getting a little less anxious about the whole thing. And I think this is about the time, yeah, you had already talked to the guy at Microbiomes. He got the thing taken down. I got in my Uber
Calm
and
down a bit.
yeah, got into my Uber, started heading to the airport, and it was all sort of settling down. So I get to the airport, it's probably about 1 o'clock. And it's like, what do you do? My flight doesn't leave till 11 at night. 11:30 is when my flight takes off. So it's like, all right, I find a place to sit and eat some food, and just like I just sipped on whatever. I'd order small drinks, bowl of soup, just something to keep them not wanting to kick me out. I didn't think they would, but like as long as they're serving me something like once every 90 minutes, something along those lines. And I just sat there on my laptop trying to poking away at. I think we had some work stuff we were kind of trying to figure out, get some of this marketing stuff moving forward. And all of that's fine. I'm getting tired. I'm getting a little cranky, but at the same time, I'm just like, just kind of, it's all going to be over soon. It's all going to work out. Blah blah blah. I get in line. It's 9:30 because they wouldn't let me check in earlier. I wanted to check my bags in way earlier, so I didn't have to carry my luggage around with me. Couldn't do that until 9:30. I get over there at 9:30. There's a lineup of people. The whole thing's already packed. And I'm just like, oh shit, I should come over here like an hour ago and try to be like first in line or something. I get there, I probably get through in about half an hour. It wasn't too bad. They were streamlining people through pretty quickly because it's all for the same flight. And I get up to the woman and she looks at my passport. She's like, oh, you're going to the US. But she didn't really speak much English. She spoke a little bit, but not a whole lot. We had to do a little bit of Google Translate on the phone. And she was basically asking me for where are my visa papers because I just showed her my passport. And she's like, basically, where are your visa papers to get into the US? And I'm trying to explain to her, I'm like, I'm Canadian. I'm not Mexican. I don't need a visa to go to the US. I just show up at the border and they're like, cool, we have a treaty with your country that says you could just come in because we're nice to you and shit or something. I don't know. It's just different rules. Canadians have a special rule with America as far as coming into the country. We don't need a whole bunch of, because other countries, pretty much every other country in the world, you got to go to the embassy first and go get some visa paperwork. It's pretty straightforward. But even if you're a tourist, it's like you got to go get some paperwork done first, and you got to bring that paperwork to the border patrol. They're going to expect to see it. And all the Mexicans that were in line when I got into Houston, they all had a whole bunch of paperwork with them. I didn't.
Gotcha.
So I'm sitting there in line, and she's like, she doesn't know what to do with me. And I think they probably have like some rules of like they get in trouble if they put someone through that doesn't have the right paperwork and everything. So she bumps me down to basically her supervisor, who's running another ticket booth down at the end. And I could tell he was a supervisor because he was like going back and forth while he was dealing with me. And he's got me there for almost an hour and a half. This is 2 hours out from the flight because he's saying the same thing. He's like, he's going through like the embassy websites and Canadian, US embassy websites. He's like, you need a test. You need a test. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? Right. And I'm keeping my calm with the guy and everything, but I'm just like, no, I've done this literally a dozen times. I just show up. And normally, from a Canadian point of view, we have the TSA in the Canadian airport. So I would clear customs in Canada before getting on the plane. That's not the case here. I clear customs once I get to Houston. That's why they were trying to pre-screen me, because they would probably get in shit if they put me through and I got denied in Houston. Right? If I got rejected in Houston, it might get back to them and they could get in a lot of trouble. They might get fined by the airlines. They might get fined by all kinds of people, right? Because there's probably some real shit to pay. That's the feeling I was getting. That's why I knew it was going to work out. That was another one of those moments where it's just like, just be calm. This is all going to work out. He's going to figure it out. He's just not used to dealing with a Canadian trying to get into the US from Mexico. Right. It's probably not the most common thing for him.
I'm willing to bet you are probably one of the only Canadians in Mexico at that moment.
Probably. I don't think there's too many. At least trying to get from Canada, or Canadians in Mexico trying to get into the US.
You defected before they shut down their border from anybody leaving.
Right. Now nobody can get out or something like that. Yeah. So I'm sitting there in line. It's getting a little late. Like it's starting to get to the boarding time for my flight. Was something like, it was like 11:35 the flight was, and it was like boarding time was like 10:40 or something like that. I mean, or 10:50, and it's like 10:40. I'm like, okay, they're gonna start boarding soon.
Yeah, like I need to hurry up this decision. Come on.
At least Tijuana, and he's just sitting there on hold. And I'm like, I have no idea when this guy, and he's not letting me through. He's not doing anything. Then finally he starts talking with somebody. and they talk for about 20 minutes. Or he's listening to this person for about 20 minutes, blah, 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 blah. He might have been recording for all I know. And I don't know what was going on, but then he started talking back and forth, and then he's wandering over to other ticket booths to help with problems over there. And I'm just like, okay, just be calm. It's all gonna work out.
Make a run for it.
And then, right, I need my boarding pass though, and he had my passport in his hand. I was like, I couldn't go anywhere. But then he finally comes back, and he's like, blah 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 blah. He's finally talking to somebody, and the person's just like, blah 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 blah. And then he's just like, his eyes go wide, like, oh, okay. And he hangs up, and he's just like, here's your tickets, here's your passport, have a good day. Basically, he finally got through to somebody who knew what the fuck they were talking about, and they just said, no, he's Canadian, just shut up and let him through.
An hour and a half standing
there, wasting this guy's time, or you wasting his own time, really. Yeah, for him to learn that I don't need a visa.
Yeah.
Oh, and then it's like, cool, got all that settled. Little anxiety in that moment.
I bet.
And I got all my stuff, and then it's just like, at least Tijuana is a tiny airport. There's like 3 terminals or something like that. Not 3 terminals, 3 like gates. Mm-hmm. It's just a really tiny airport. So I get in there and find my plane, and there's just a lineup. Like people have already, everybody's already getting on the plane. I'm the last person on the plane. I didn't even pay the extra $8 for priority seats to get on the plane first. At least I got off the plane first, but I got on the plane last because of this guy. So we get through. I started walking down the runway, and it's just like my stomach starts to growl a little bit. I'm like, okay, it's getting late. It's been almost 18 hours I've been awake. Just something, whatever. And I sit down. This is a 4.5-hour flight. So I sit down for about an hour, and I start feeling gas. Like you start getting those cramps through your midsection, and it's just like it starts building, and then it releases a little bit, and you're just like, oh, what was that? That was some gas. That was like some internal pressure really starting to cause some issues. And I'm just like, that sucked. Let's hope there's not a whole lot more of those. 20 minutes later, there's another one. 20 minutes later, there's another one. Then there's 10 minutes later, it's like, oh no, I know what this is. This is gas buildup. This is something I don't have no idea what it was.
It was made with water. Did you ever have soup the whole time you were there?
No.
You didn't drink the water in Mexico, but you thought the soup at the airport was safe? It's such a high IQ. Sometimes.
But in 12 hours? In 12 hours it goes bad in your stomach?
It's got to get all the way down to your intestines.
And then it just goes, okay. And then it
creates havoc. Speaking
I'm on the airplane.
Biomes.
I'm on the airplane, and we're about 2.5 hours into this flight, so we're like halfway there. And I feel like I'm suddenly just gonna hurl. Like it's one of those intense feelings of just like instant nausea. It's just like it starts going up. Your face starts to feel like it drains the
saliva's coming up in your mouth, and you're
right,
like, I'm going to drop it all over myself. Right
and I make the wonderful decision. I'm in row 3. Why I didn't think about the toilet that's literally right in front of me? I turn around and I walk the whole distance of the plane. I go to the back of the plane, but not only I get to the back of the plane and both fucking stalls are occupied. And I'm sitting there and I'm just like, deep fucking breath. Deep breath. Like, do not hurl all over the back of the plane. Oh, I do remember why I kind of turned around and went to the back of the plane is because there was like 4 stewardesses and they had like the cockpit door open and shit. Like they were just serving the pilots. And I think I just thought in that moment, I'm not going forward because they're really going to think I'm fucking weirdo or something, fucking tackle me or some shit. Like I'm going to try to storm the cockpit or something. Because they weren't being like totally like in the US, they like get super strict about that. They'll like, you know, that cockpit door says open for all 2 seconds. They fucking left the door open. It was like I could walk up there and it would have looked like I was storming the cockpit or something. Big white dude coming through. It's just like, and I didn't have time to think. I was just like ready to hurl, and I was half worried about hurling all over them. Apparently, I was less worried about hurling all over the other passengers. Oh my God, my priorities were in a weird order at that moment. But it was
Well,
just like,
uh,
as I was
plane
walking
safety.
back,
Clearly, you were thinking about the safety of the plane.
right, yes, we wanted to make sure that the pilots were not disturbed. The
Oh my
passengers
God.
could be
Oh,
secondary to this issue.
okay.
So I start walking back on the plane. And one of the things was, as soon as I started walking back, there was all the air conditioning coming from all the things, and it was like hitting me in the face. And it
Mhm.
was just like I could feel the like temperature dropping and the nausea dropping a little bit. So like that was actually kind of refreshing to get
Aw,
some fresh air.
good.
And then as I got to the back of the plane, and then it was like, then it started to turn from nausea to, as I'm walking back, I'm like, oh, there's the gas problem again. It's like this is no longer a nausea throwing up issue. This is a something's gonna end up dribbling down my leg issue.
It's coming out both ends. That's when you know
Right.
this is
They,
a
yeah,
good sign.
this is like projectile out of both directions.
This is a
And I'm
bacteria or a
then I get to the back
parasite.
of the plane and I'm like, oh shit, the fucking both there's two stalls and they're both occupied. Like, ooh, clenching, putting
Oh.
those sphincter muscles to work.
And you're like, do I bang on the door? Tell them to hurry up? Do
Like,
I?
this is an emergency. You want to move. At least I only had to wait a couple of minutes. I get in there and it was explosive as you would expect. There was a lot of gas buildup.
I'm sure.
Um, yeah, that was not fun. I was in there for a good 15 minutes. I just didn't want to move out too quickly because I was just like, I'm going to give this some time because I didn't want to get back to my seat
And then
and
jump
then right and then be like, oh, I got to go for round two.
in.
So I'm in there for a little bit. And I get back to my seat, and that the things calm down after that. And my biggest worry was like, especially for throwing up, is that this was the first flight of two. I would have got to Monterey, and they'd have been like, he threw up on the plane. How about we don't let him on the next one? Right? Like that was my real worry because then it was like, oh fuck, what am I gonna? It's like 3 a.m. in Monterey when I get there, or 4 a.m. or something like that. It's just like, no, I need to not throw up right now.
I don't think they would have kept you from boarding your other flight, but I mean, I could
I don't
see.
know if I was like throwing up all over the place and shitting my pants, they might have something to say about that. Considering I didn't have a change of pants with me,
I'm pretty sure
that
they're
was all
used
in my
to
luggage bag
gringos.
that was unstowed.
I'm pretty sure they're used to gringos and their sensitive digestive.
Sensitive stomachs. This is not the first shit your pants on a
I'm
flight to
pretty
Mexico.
sure that.
It's funny though, like
Pretty
the
sure.
whole time I'm in Mexico, everything's fine. Then on my way out, it's just like no, it's just like Mexico's gotta get it in at least one time before I leave. On the
You ate
way
the
out,
soup. I don't know
I
what
ate
to tell you.
the soup was the first thing I ate too.
They probably just used water.
So yes. So I get through, the second flight goes fine. Everything was kind of fine there. Oh, I ended up having to pay so whenever you go into Mexico, you pay $30 to get your 180-day permit or whatever. Apparently they charge you. It's just like going into your story with what was it, Saigon?
Cambodia.
Or
Cambodia.
yeah, Cambodia. $5, $5. But well, they want $30 to get into Mexico. So I paid that. Then I go to exit, and dude's like, I do something like security dude, and he's like, yeah, you got to go over to this little booth, and they'll give you an exit stamp. They'll take your permit, give you an exit stamp on your passport. I'm like, cool. I go over there, I do that, and she's like, where's your receipt for that you paid to come in? I'm like, that's the little permit in your hand. That's I paid $30 to get that. She's like, well, if you don't have the receipt, I got to charge you another $30.
You're looking at it.
Yeah, this is all
You're
he gave
looking
me.
at the
There was no
fucking
other.
thing.
And I'm like, oh, this is a scam too. It's just like, no, they're going to charge me $30 on the way in and on the way out. This is like a toll booth that charges you both ways.
Yep.
It's like, not how this is supposed to work, lady. Well, what am I going to do? Fucking argue with her? Of course not. She's holding the stamp.
Yeah. 30
Yeah, she's the immigration lady. She's holding the stamp. So it's like, guess you're getting your $30.
Yeah.
Jeez. Just like, yeah. So just let me out of your country. Thank you. I will pay $30 to leave this place gladly at this point.
So it
So
wasn't
I get through all of that. I get through from the Monterey to Houston flight went completely fine. I had a whole row to myself. The seats were nice and flat, so I turned up all the fucking armrests. I put my backpack down as a pillow. I tried to lay down and get some sleep. My legs would not stop cramping at this point because dehydrated and lack of just fluids and everything, just calves cramped, hamstrings cramped. It was just like they would just cramp instantly. I'm just like, okay, this is gonna be 2 hours of muscle cramps, not 2 hours of sleeping. So that was lovely.
You ate the soup.
I ate the soup. This is not like New York where there's a soup Nazi.
No.
You're supposed to say no soup for you is like a preventative thing. Got it. No more soup in Mexico. Get to Houston, get in line, chug through all of that, and I'm like a little nervous, but I think it was more just nauseous. Like I felt like I had some anxiety in my stomach, like this wasn't gonna go well or something. I'm just like, there's no reason it won't. Why would anything go wrong here? Of course this is gonna be fine.
Clench walk.
Right. There was a little bit of clenching, there was a little bit of breathing. I get up to the border patrol booth, I hand him my passport, and he's got his rapid fire questions. Keep in mind, I'm nauseous, I'm clenching my butt cheeks, and I've been up for 24 hours. Actually, more than that. It was like 28 hours at that point. So I'm up for a long ass time. I am tired. I have muscle cramps. I'm just like, I am not in good shape. And this guy's got rapid fire questions for me like, who are you? Where are you going? What are you doing here? What's your job title? He's just looking for me to fuck up, right? So I'm just like, I just go with the flow, and I'm just like, blah 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 blah, just whatever. And just the answers are on top of my head. I wasn't making shit up at any point because I didn't have the mental fortitude just to like make anything up. It was just like he's getting all truthful answers because I don't have a choice at the moment. I can't think of anything other than truthful answers.
Because you would have lied otherwise. Let's be honest.
No, I wouldn't have. But
right.
Just like I don't know. It's just the things that go through your head when you're sitting there across a border patrol dude. He's holding your life in your hands, in his hands. So we get through all of that. He asked me what I do for a living. I'm a software engineer, and then he asked me what province am I from. Well, it's not something you usually expect because a lot of people in America don't even know what provinces are. And I'm like, Prince Edward Island. And he turns to me and he says, "Oh yeah, how did COVID go up there?" Like he knew where Prince Edward Island was. And I mean, and people know where Ontario is and Quebec and the big provinces. Some people don't know where Prince Edward Island is. It's a little island off the East Coast. And he's like, yeah, how did all COVID go up there? I'm like, well, it's an island. They lock it down pretty good. There was no way in, no way out. He's like, yeah, it was probably like that. It wasn't like that in Ontario. Ontario was a shit show. And he starts going on about politics and Ontario and COVID. And I'm just like, at that point, I'm thinking, oh, cool, this is great. Because if he's gone chatty, he ain't questioning me at all. He ain't like riding my butt about nothing. And it was just like, wonderful.
And the last thing you want is somebody from customs riding your butt.
Especially when I'm trying to clench my butt cheeks. Right? So that was, and then it was, I got outside. And I remember going through the airport, and it was like you could hear like Southern accents on the radios and all this stuff. And I'm just like, oh, the English language never sounded so good at this moment. It's like I could understand what people are saying again.
So
and then got in an Uber, got down to my buddy's house, and
so you didn't learn Spanish while you were in Mexico, huh?
I didn't learn that much. I learned hello, I learned thank you, P's and Q's.
Girl, you texted
I learned
that one.
Good day.
Silly. I literally had to look that one up. I was like, huh?
Yeah, what was it like? Oh yeah, the silly girl one. Yeah, because what were you saying? It was pobrecita.
Yeah.
So it's like poor something.
Poor dear.
Poor dear.
I was saying with my tongue firmly planted in my right cheek.
Yeah.
Because you were complaining about something, and I was like,
poor dear.
Pobrecita. And then of course I went and I was like, is it brecito or brecita? Because I thought it would be really funny if I gave you the feminine of poor brecita.
Oh yeah.
And it should have been poor brecito, but it looks like it's just pobrecita. No matter what gender you are.
Yeah, I had to punch it into Google Translate. What the fuck is she calling me? Because I'm like,
Is that how you get silly girl? Because I was like punching that into
yes.
Google Translate, and I was like, huh?
Yeah, it was like
And then I looked
Nina
at the
Tonto
phone,
or
and I was
something.
like, oh, silly. Oh,
Yeah, it was like Nina Tonta or something like that. Tonta was silly.
yes.
Yeah,
But it didn't come up as silly as the first one. It came up as crazy or something. I was like, I'm not.
crazy girl.
Yeah, I was like something. Like that. I was like, no, because that's loca. So yeah,
Yeah.
tonta.
Uh-huh.
What? So yeah, we were both using Google Translate. That's funny. That's where you got it from. Because I was like, oh, did you learn silly girl? No,
No.
they gave it to you.
Yeah. Well, I thought I told you that
Get
before.
a
It's like
label.
I haven't learned much Spanish in Mexico, but I have learned how to use Google Translate. Just convert English into Spanish and be like da 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 da, and then show it to people and be like, this is what I'm saying.
Oh, because you didn't want another American pie? Thinking you were getting the most authentic Mexican dessert. And you
Yes,
got
I did
apple
not want
fucking
yeah,
pie.
I did not need another apple pie. I did order whenever I was at the airport, I ordered a flan.
Told you. Wasn't it good?
No. Whatever flan they made, it was like
Yo tonto.
soft. It was like caramel flan
Yeah.
with some ice cream on top. But it was like this
Papa
they
flan.
put ice cream on it. It was spongy and soft. It felt like
It's
just
just custard.
this was probably not a good flan. This was at the Wings restaurant. I don't
Mm,
know, is there a chain of some kind? I don't
okay.
think this was good flan.
Okay.
This was kind of I kind of finished most of it. I was just like I was kind of thinking the flan gave me the fucking upset stomach.
I'm thinking it's the water in the soup.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, it's more likely.
But no, it was kind
Flan is-
of the flan was just like it was soft and the texture to it was kind of not great.
Huh, that's weird.
It was almost wet. It was too wet. It was like soft and slimy. It was slimy.
Well, the caramel is there's excess caramel.
Yeah.
It's
It
not a
didn't even have that
caramel,
much
like a
caramel flavor
very
to it. That was the thing.
well, you have to have the like the okay.
Yeah. It was a little bland.
I'll
Yeah.
bet you there's some good flan in Orange County. I mean, we've got Santa Ana nearby, so I know
Yes.
there's some real authentic places here. We can
Yes, they
probably
probably have more higher end some Mexican places than what is actually in some places in Mexico. Because everything's so cheap there. I mean, it's like the restaurants they're not overly expensive, and the quality of the food, at least where I was, it's too not too awesome.
not too awesome.
I
Okay.
mean, you can find some restaurants that were obviously a little better quality. Um,
I mean, you work in Cancun, so I guess that
no, and like the thing about Ensenada is it's kind of an industrial town. It's yeah, it's more there's some tourist people there, but I think it's less of your like tourism tourist and more of your like I just want to get out of California for a little bit tourist, and they don't really care too much. I just want a cheap place to go, so to speak. Because you go to Cancun, it's like you want to go for the week, not a weekend,
well, it's a
right?
resort destination. I
It's
mean,
a
it's a
resort. Yeah, Ensenada is not a resort place. There are some Airbnbs and some grungy hotels and motels.
now having been through Tijuana and all of that. Do you remember when you were like, I think I'm just gonna go stay in Tijuana, and I was like, you might want to
We want to rethink
reconsider
that.
where you land for a little bit.
Yeah, at least Ensenada was like full of military people, so it was pretty safe. Felt pretty
Yeah.
safe there. I didn't feel worried for my safety in Ensenada. Felt a little worried for my sanity a couple of points because it was just like it's so just. I mean, it's there's not much greenage. It's very deserty, right? It's just there's not a lot of. It was like, and it would have cost them probably a shit ton of money to put enough irrigation in to have like palm trees
Yeah.
and things like that. They just didn't have the money to put that kind of infrastructure in to have greenage.
Yeah.
So it's kind of just dull.
And it would just cost a lot to water it too.
Yeah, especially because there's no water there.
Right.
It rained twice,
Yeah.
and it was sprinkles. It's very just dry and desert, arid.
Isn't a large part of Mexico the same longitude as like
The Sahara.
the Sahara? I was thinking the Middle East, all of that
Yeah.
dry, arid area.
Yeah, it's just enough north of the equator to be outside the tropics.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I was like, it doesn't surprise me that they wouldn't have much water. California only has water because of its aqueduct. Otherwise, we would be pretty arid too, because we don't get a
Well,
lot.
there are parts of California are very arid.
Well, that's northern California,
Yeah.
very long, but
Hmm.
not
Or
southern.
off to the east. Eastern California is just Death Valley and deserts and gets into
Exactly.
all the rest of it.
Palm Desert, Palm Springs.
Yeah, that valley, like LA down to San Diego, near the coast.
Yeah, we have to send them water up there.
Right. Just pump the water, pump what little water you have to go get irrigated somewhere else.
Yeah, we collect it in Silicon Valley and we pump it down to the border.
Right. And it's like, but I think the biggest takeaway I think from my trip to Mexico was a couple of them. It's like you definitely appreciate what you have here. It's like absurd to me now to listen to these people who are like, I just want to leave America because America sucks now. It's like, it's just not as good as it used to be in your mind, but you think the rest of the world is still better. It's like, you need to leave the US so that you can come running back
remember
crying.
remember how before you went there, you were just astounded how every little thing I appreciate and I'm grateful for, and you were like everything.
Right.
It's like so
Yeah.
grateful for like everything. Now you know.
All the little details. It's just like, yeah, now I get back here and I'm just like, air conditioning, fans, English language, like all these little things that I just 100% took for granted.
Like my
Like being
feet
able to
are cool.
communicate with people.
My feet are cool. I have clean. I can put water in my cup from the sink.
I can
And
go to the tap and
I
just
can
drink the
drink
water.
from it.
Right.
Oh,
I
right.
don't have to, well, down there, it was like I had to plan
Yeah.
ahead with the water. I'd order these 6 liter jugs of water
Yeah.
from using like an Uber Eats delivery, and I'd order like three of them. So I'd order like 18 liters of water at a time, and it was just like I didn't bother cooking with water because it was just like then I was going to use more water. So it was just like I'm just going to use this to drink
Yeah.
because I'd go through like 2 to 3 liters of water a day at least, and actually there it was more like 3 to 4. So you're burning through water, and you got to order it like every 4 days.
And just the idea that you can now make whatever you want to make because you're not having to think about having excess water to cook with, how you're going to get it, any of that stuff. I mean, just so a lot of the traveling I've done, most of the traveling I've done has been to third world countries
Mm-hmm.
where your experience is, yeah, like Thailand, Cambodia, all of that stuff. It's, Mexico, Belize, these are all places that I frequented.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, you get home and you go, this is really comfortable. This is really comfortable. And you see how other people live and you are really, really, really grateful for
Right. And I think
count sheets and all of that stuff.
yeah, and it's like whenever you like it's the decision fatigue that you end up realizing. Like you think you have decision fatigue on a daily basis in the US, and you're thinking there's so many decisions to make, but then you get down here and it's like you literally have to make day-to-day decisions of things you never thought you would think about before. Like I'm sitting there, I don't have a car, all I have is a duffel bag, and I can really only carry like maybe 2 or 3 days worth of food when I go to the grocery store. I've got this duffel bag and I've got to wash my clothes by hand because there's no washer and dryer. Like I have a wash basin outside my back door, and it's just like the small logistics and things that you take for granted. Oh, I just throw my clothes in the washer and they're done in half an hour. I dry them, they're done in half an hour, and that's it for the week at
Yeah.
least.
And we're over here getting frustrated because we ran out of Tide Pods. Right?
Right. You might have to go to the store and get some more Tide Pods. Right.
Exactly. I know. It definitely changes your whole perspective on.
Yeah, you get used to the convenience of everything, and when that convenience gets taken away, you start to appreciate it a bit more. And it's almost like where I'm at now, it's like I actually don't want to overly rely on that convenience as much anymore. Like I almost don't want to get stuck back in that trap, even though I know I will.
It was painful, huh?
Right. Yeah. So yeah, it's like when you're in Mexico or in any place that's like where you don't have those conveniences, you're not used to, all these extra day-to-day decisions you have to make. And then you get back to, the normal civilization that we're kind of used to. It's like you really start to appreciate all those things. You really start to appreciate not having these extra day-to-day decisions to make. It just things are so much easier. You can just go to the store and get things that you otherwise probably couldn't get, or just and it's the other thing too is you um appreciate having people in your life that are there for a little bit of moral support, because you go through something like that and it's those decisions get up, they get stressful, it gets to be a struggle some days, and it's like it was probably about like half a dozen people that while I was in Mexico I would kind of like reach out to from time to time, chat with in the evenings, and just kind of it's a way to de-stress. And not having that can be not having that would have been made it a whole lot tougher, I think.
I totally understand. In fact, that's one of the reasons why we're building the community that we're building. And
right
where I was headed with some of the thoughts that came to me over the weekend that I shared with you, where I want to go with the thing and make it much more fun. I mean, it's stuff that I look forward to being able to do.
It's like the fitness industry and stuff like that. It struggles to make workouts fun. Even this whole thing of calling them workouts, it's like there's got to be some better thinking we can get into there, where it's like more fun, more playful.
That's why I call it trainings.
Yeah, bringing people together. Like we've got some ideas along those lines of like, hey, can we get people to like work out together even when they're not in the same place? We have all this technology, we have all these ideas, there's lots of smart people out there. I think we can start to bring some of these ideas into the app eventually, and I think we have some interesting there's some interesting things on the horizon for people to look forward to.
Exciting things, huh? Yeah. Hi, baby. Well, on that note,
yeah, this has been an interesting podcast. Escape from Mexico. I have made it safely into the US, and
yay.
Peace of mind again, and just kind of get back into the work grind, get everything going again, and looking forward to where this is all going to go. It's getting very exciting very quickly. Lots of cool ideas. So
yeah, I'm excited too. I can't wait for us to officially tell people what we're up to.
Right. Yeah, that might be a little bit. I think we'll tease it out little bit by little bit. I mean, that's what we're good at. Burying leads, leaving teasers here and there. Like, I might have a surprise for you someday soon. So, so yeah. No, this has all been a really exciting week. Looking forward to what's coming up, and we'll do another one of these again soon when we've got a whole bunch of new updates for everybody.
Yep, and I've got a guest that has said yes. I'm just working out the schedule.
That's exciting. Yeah, we talked about that in the beginning about wanting to get some guests on at some point. We just wanted to get first few episodes of finding a rhythm with these and getting our own, energy and sync on how to do these podcasts well. And I think we found that we've done pretty well. And getting a guest on would be really exciting. It'd start to add some variety and some flavor.
Yes.
The more guests, the merrier. It's gonna be fun.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's it for episode 5 with Ali and Chris of the podcast.
Hi, everybody.
Hello, everyone.